The movie begins with Drasa, who is currently sitting in a cave in the middle of a mountain. Suddenly, she realizes that the time has come to carry out her mission. Calmly, she takes out her sniper rifle and kills someone from a very long distance. Then, she calmly gathers her things and leaves. Drasa is a highly skilled Russian soldier with a long history of successful assassinations. On the other side, we see Levi waking up, agitated as usual. This is because he usually can't sleep at night. He gathers himself and goes to sit by the shore, lost in thought until morning. In the morning, he receives a message from the military, telling him to come to the military base soon, it's urgent. Levi obeys and heads to the base. When Levi arrives, the military has summoned him to meet a specific woman. He meets her but doesn't understand who she is or what she wants. The woman introduces herself as Bartholomew, and it's unclear what her exact connection to the military is. However, Levi understands that she holds a high position, and for some reason, the military listens to her. Bartholomew picks up Levi's file and tells him, "Your file says you were a soldier and an extremely skilled sniper, but you left the military. However, you still work with them occasionally for specific missions." Levi confirms this, saying, "That's true, but I left the military because I developed severe psychological issues that sometimes prevent me from sleeping for long periods. But when there's a special mission from the military, I carry it out immediately." At this point, Bartholomew asks him to undertake a new mission, but it's not an easy one. She doesn't give him many details, only saying, "You'll know when you get there." Not long after, Levi wakes up to find himself drugged and on a military plane. He has no idea where he is. When he regains consciousness, a woman from the plane takes everything he has, including his phone, and informs him that he'll be parachuting out soon. After landing, he'll need to walk a certain distance, where he'll meet an American soldier who will take him to the mission location. Levi is confused about why they drugged him, took his belongings, and why he doesn't even know where he is. Nevertheless, he gathers himself and parachutes out of the plane. Days pass and Levi is still walking through the forest until finally, he finds the soldier who is supposed to take over the mission. The soldier's name is Jasper. Jasper warmly welcomes Levi and immediately takes him to the mission location. Jasper explains to Levi that he'll be taking over the duty, which Jasper has been handling for a full year. Levi is taken to the duty location, which is a watchtower on top of a massive wall. The wall surrounds an area that Jasper calls the trench. The trench is enclosed by walls on all sides, with two watchtowers, one in the west, where Levi is, and one in the east. These towers were built by various countries and are maintained with special care, similar to how the US worked with Levi. Levi is very surprised by all of this, but goes up the watchtower with Jasper to understand more. Jasper tells him that for over 75 years, a soldier has been assigned to each tower every year. For 75 years, no one has known the secret of this place because the trench is surrounded by some kind of cloaking device that hides its existence from the world and any passing satellites. Levi says, "I feel like this is all very trivial, and there's no real secret or anything strange about this place." At that moment, Jasper picks up a small bomb and throws it into the lines. Suddenly, the bomb explodes and Levi hears the screams of monsters. He realizes that the trench is full of strange and terrifying creatures. Levi said to Jasper, "Please, tell me the truth about this place. What is this trench, and what exactly is my mission?" Jasper replied, "Over all these years, no one has truly known what's inside the trench. All we know is that during World War II, 2,500 soldiers were sent to investigate this place and find out what was happening here, but all of them died. After that, the military decided to keep this place a secret and maintain its concealment for life. We don't know what's inside. We just protect it. So your mission, Levi, is basically to guard this place and prevent anything inside from getting out. You have no connection whatsoever with the soldier in the other tower across from you." Levi was terrified by everything he had seen and heard, but he agreed nonetheless. The day passed, and the next day, Jasper gathered his things and left the place. Since he had handed over the duty to Levi, Jasper was supposed to go wait in a specific spot for his helicopter to take him back home. The helicopter arrived and took him, but shortly after they left the area, Jasper was killed and thrown out of the helicopter. This made it clear that no soldier who comes to serve here ever returns home safely. Meanwhile, Levi had accepted his current mission and settled into his tower. Time passed, and we see Levi performing his daily routine. He wakes up, checks all the cloaking devices placed around the wall, inspects the automatic weapons stationed at various points on the wall, which activate automatically when they sense any threat. And finally, every month at a specific time, he uses the radio to report to his superiors that everything is calm and under control. It's worth noting that every time he tries to say anything more, they cut him off because they don't want to know anything beyond the fact that everything is fine. Levi continues his monotonous daily routine until one day, he notices someone in the eastern tower across from him. He looks through his binoculars and sees that the person assigned to guard the tower, just like him, is Draza. He doesn't know who she is. Levi goes to sleep and, as usual, wakes up agitated at night due to the memories of all the people he has killed throughout his life, which still haunt him. Meanwhile, Draza watches him from her tower from a distance, feeling sorry for him because she understands his pain. She feels the same way often. A month later, it's Draza's birthday, and she's celebrating alone. She starts to feel overwhelmed, and in a moment of frustration, fires a shot into the air to get Levi's attention. Levi hears the shot from his tower and looks through his binoculars to see Draza holding up a piece of paper that says, "Today is my birthday, and I'd like to get to know you." Although Levi wasn't keen on breaking the rules by interacting with her, they eventually introduce themselves and exchange names. After a while, Draza gets even more bored and starts trying to play with Levi, suggesting they dance a little or even shoot at each other from a distance as a form of entertainment to see who's the better sniper. After a while, Draza stopped what she was doing and said to Levi, "Quick, look at the wall on your side." Levi looked and saw strange creatures climbing out of the trench, rushing toward him to kill him. Levi immediately started shooting them down, one after another. Draza, without hesitation, grabbed her machine gun and began firing at the monsters from a distance, killing them one by one until they were all dead. The same creatures had also emerged from Draza's side, and she began killing them as well. Levi, trying to help her from a distance, accidentally triggered one of the mines scattered across the wall. The explosion caused chaos, and Draza was hit and knocked unconscious. At this point, Levi decided he couldn't leave her. He grabbed his machine gun and kept shooting the creatures one after another from a distance. Meanwhile, the automatic weapons stationed along the walls, which had detected the threat, began assisting Levi and Draza. Thankfully, within seconds, all the creatures were killed. After the chaos, Levi stayed up all night, keeping watch over Draza from a distance to protect her in case anything else happened. Draza, meanwhile, regained consciousness and began treating her wounds. Thankfully, the situation passed without further incident. The next day, everyone was busy fixing their weapons, and Levi went to replace the mines that had been destroyed the previous night. He still didn't understand what was happening inside the trench, so he was shocked when a drone, a small unmanned aircraft, suddenly appeared near him. Strangely, none of the weapons would fire at the drone, which confused Levi. He thought to himself, this must belong to Miss Bartholomew, so he stayed quiet and let the night pass. Over time, Levi and Draza's relationship grew significantly. Despite the distance between them, they grew closer every day through conversation and playful interactions. Eventually, they fell in love. One day, Levi saw Draza sitting alone, crying. She was remembering her father, who had taken his own life some time ago. She was sitting there sad and alone. When Levi saw her, he asked her what's the matter. She said, "I wish you could be here with me." At that moment, Levi sat by himself, thinking, and finally decided that he needed to be by her side. The next day, Levi gathered his things and took an RPG from the tower's storage. He modified the RPG to include a hook and rope, then fired it toward Draza's tower, creating a makeshift rope bridge between the two towers. When Draza saw what he had done, she was overjoyed. She looked at him and saw him saying, "Tonight, I'll come to you." She was thrilled and agreed. Levi prepared himself, got ready, and made his way across the rope to her tower. It was a long and tiring journey, and by the time he arrived, he was a bit sweaty and exhausted. He took a shower and then spent the entire day talking with Draza. One of the things Levi was desperate to know was the truth about the trench and why Jasper had called the creatures living below the Hollow Men. Draza told him, "I don't think we need to know the truth. Sometimes, the truth can be painful." Levi replied, "The truth does hurt from the beginning, but if it's hidden, it's even worse. That's why I really need to know what's going on with this place." Draza let the moment pass, and they continued talking and sharing stories throughout the day. After a long and pleasant day spent together, they finally rested. The next morning, Levi gathered his things and prepared to return to his tower. However, the problem was that a group of creatures had started climbing the wall near Levi's tower. The mines there exploded, causing the rope bridge to snap, and Levi was left stranded between the two towers. He fell into the trench, but luckily, he had a parachute with him. Without hesitation, Draza grabbed a large amount of weapons and another parachute, then immediately jumped down to save Levi. When Draza landed in the trench, she unfortunately fell into a river. Her parachute got tangled, but she managed to free herself quickly and climbed out of the river safely. Meanwhile, Levi, who had been knocked unconscious from the fall, woke up to find himself hanging from a tree. A giant worm was coming toward him, trying to eat him, so he shot it. However, as he fell from the tree, he landed on another strange tree that immediately grabbed him tightly and started eating him. Levi was about to die, but at the last moment, Draza appeared and managed to shoot the tree, freeing him. The problem now was that a group of the Hollow Men had spotted them and attacked. Levi and Draza fought back, shooting at them until they finally managed to kill them all. After this, Draza and Levi were still confused about what this place was and who these people were. However, Levi noticed that the Hollow Men were wearing military uniforms from the 1940s. In other words, the Hollow Men were the soldiers who had been sent here long ago and had supposedly died. But how were they still alive in this bizarre form? It was unclear. Immediately, Levi and Draza stuck together and continued moving forward. Every step they took was terrifying, and the place felt like a ghost town. They entered a large house to hide for a while, but inside, they found many corpses of people who had killed themselves. They were shocked by everything they saw. As they explored further, a swarm of giant leeches descended on them, trying to eat them. They fought back, killing the leeches, but then more Hollow Men attacked. At this point, Draza threw a bomb at a section of the wall, creating an opening, and they escaped through it. After escaping, they needed to find another place to hide. Nearby, they found a large laboratory and entered it. Inside, they discovered that it was a massive government facility filled with strange things and blood everywhere. They'd wandered around until they found a backup generator that was still functional. They turned it on, and the electricity came back. Additionally, they found an old videotape that was still working. They played it, and a doctor who had worked in the lab during World War II appeared on the screen. The doctor explained that while Oppenheimer was working on the atomic bomb during the war, they were working on a biological bomb, a virus designed to end the war completely. Unfortunately, before they could finish the virus, a massive earthquake destroyed everything and released the virus into the environment. The virus altered genetic structures, merging humans with plants and turning them into monstrous creatures that didn't die but became something else entirely. The doctor explained that the virus was now widespread throughout the trench, and they were trying to contain it to prevent it from spreading outside. She also mentioned that if no symptoms appeared within 5 days, a person was safe, as some people had strong immune systems and wouldn't be infected even if they stayed in the area. The doctor apologized and ended the recording. Levi and Draza were deeply shocked by what they heard but still didn't understand why this place hadn't been bombed with nuclear weapons to completely erase it from existence. As they continued exploring, they found modern computer equipment, which was strange since no one was supposed to have been here since World War II. When they opened the laptop, they discovered it belonged to a company called Dark Lake. Levi realized that the drone he had seen earlier was also from Dark Lake, and Ms. Bartholomew was connected to the company. It became clear that Dark Lake was trying to use the trench and the virus to create super soldiers. In other words, the place hadn't been destroyed because the company wanted to exploit the virus to create enhanced soldiers. Levi kept searching through the files until he found one labeled The Stray Dog. From this file, Levi learned that there was a massive nuclear bomb located in the center of the trench, connected to sensors. If the secret of the trench were ever exposed, the bomb would automatically detonate, completely erasing the place from existence. Levi now understood this information and immediately took Draza with him to escape. At this point, Levi and Draza were leaving the lab when suddenly, one of the Hollow Men appeared, tied up Draza, and ran off with her on a horse. Draza tried to free herself multiple times, but eventually passed out. Levi chased after them, but couldn't catch up until he finally reached the place where Draza had been taken. Unfortunately, this was the same area where the chemical missiles had been stored long ago. When the earthquake hit, these missiles exploded, releasing the virus everywhere. Levi decided to go down and save Draza, but he had to act quickly. Draza was starting to wake up and realized that her captor had tied her up and was preparing to eat her. She managed to free herself and fought back, but the Hollow Man was about to overpower her when Levi arrived just in time and killed him. Levi told Draza, "We need to get out of here fast because this place is extremely toxic." Draza agreed, and they started moving, unsure of how to escape. As they walked, they came across an area with the chemical missile that had exploded long ago. The missile was so toxic that it had absorbed a large number of people, turning them into a tree-like structure. These people were still alive, but in constant agony. Levi warned Draza, "Try not to touch anything, and let's get out of here." However, Draza accidentally bumped into the people, and they grabbed her, trying to pull her into their group. Levi quickly started shooting them down one by one until he finally grabbed a bomb and threw it at them, setting them on fire. He then took Draza, and they fled the area, leaving the rest to burn. When they got out, they found a garage nearby filled with powerful military vehicles equipped with strong winches. They decided to use one of these vehicles to get back to the towers, but first, they needed to find the rope that had snapped earlier. They searched the forest until they found the rope, quickly tied it to the vehicle's winch, and began using it to climb back up to the tower. Levi and Draza were now in the vehicle, relieved to be escaping the strange and dangerous place. Unfortunately, some of the Hollow Men were still chasing them and began climbing the rope to reach them. Levi quickly accelerated the vehicle, making it go faster, while also fighting off the Hollow Men. Drasa joined the fight, and together they managed to hold them off. Finally, Levi poured gasoline on the Hollow Men and set them on fire, along with the vehicle. As they were almost at the top, Levi cut the rope, causing the vehicle and the Hollow Men to fall to their deaths. Levi and Drasa had only a short distance left to climb, so they continued until they finally reached Drasa's tower. The night ended with them safe but exhausted. After that, they sat down, calmed themselves, and began treating each other. They were now aware that they might have been infected with the virus due to their prolonged stay in the trench. They decided to wait and see if any symptoms would appear within the next 5 days. If no symptoms appeared, they would destroy the trench before leaving and then escape to live in secret in France, in a place Drasa knew where they could live in hiding. Levi tied a rope between Drasa's tower and his own and returned to his tower because the next day, he had to report to the military and give them the usual update that everything in the trench was fine. The next day, the military contacted him, and he gave them the usual report. Everything seemed normal, but for the first time, Miss Bartholomew herself spoke to Levi, asking him many questions about the trench, whether he had entered it, and other probing questions. Levi felt like he was being watched, but he denied everything. She ended the call and then contacted some of her soldiers to go after Levi and Drasa to eliminate them. Meanwhile, we see Miss Bartholomew looking at her laptop, which shows images of Levi and Drasa in the trench, captured by the company's computer systems. As we mentioned earlier, the company's computers were connected to Bartholomew's devices. The next day, Levi and Drasa began disconnecting all the cloaking devices around the trench. Once they finished, they saw a helicopter approaching. Levi quickly told Drasa to run and hide, while he also fled into the forest. The helicopter carried Bartholomew and many of her soldiers. When they landed, they searched the area for Levi and Drasa but couldn't find them. Bartholomew ordered them to send drones to kill them, and that's what happened. Meanwhile, Levi and Drasa were running through the forest, trying to get as far away from the trench as possible. However, drones began firing at them, so they kept running and destroying the drones as they went. Eventually, they managed to put some distance between themselves and the trench. Levi and Drasa each took a position on the ground, set up their sniper rifles, and began destroying the cloaking devices around the trench, one by one, until all the devices were destroyed. With the cloaking devices gone, the trench was now exposed to satellites, triggering the nuclear bomb at its center. When Bartholomew saw that the cloaking devices had been destroyed, she realized the trench would explode automatically. She immediately boarded the helicopter with her soldiers and tried to escape, but it was too late. The bomb detonated, killing her and everyone with her. Meanwhile, Levi kept running as fast as he could to escape the blast. At the last moment, he jumped into a river, and we all know what happened to him after that. Drasa, however, was far enough away from the explosion. Sadly, she believed Levi had died and was left alone, grieving and camping in the forest. She stayed there for 5 days, unsure if she had been infected with the virus. After confirming that she hadn't been infected, she gathered her things and went to France to start a new life, far away from everything that had happened. Months later, we see Drasa working in a restaurant but still saddened by the loss of Levi, the only love of her life. However, one day, she looked behind her and saw Levi standing there. He had finally found her after searching for a long time. Now Drasa and Levi were together again, and with that scene, the movie ends.